They underestimated your abilities. They felt you were average and easy to select. But there was something they didn't realize. You were not ordinary. You're a fighter. Your soul is on fire. Your steps are following the road set by fate. They attempted to stop you, set traps, and place hurdles in your path. So, what happened? You didn't collapse. You did not give up. Their darkness could not put out your brightness. They ultimately had to kneel before you. They now look at you with a combination of adoration and dread, because you have grown into such a powerful figure that even those who attempted to destroy you have knelt down before you. The conflict is not finished. This is just the beginning. Stand up and put 77 in the comments because triumph is written for you. The demand for validation drove them to seek outside confirmation and authority to examine and judge if you met their expectations. They believed that relationships could be quantified, examined, and classified in the same way that human connections might be reduced to a structured equation. However, the result contradicted their rationale. No formula could contain what you were carrying. No meter could describe the power inside you. It wasn't a rejection. It was an alignment issue. They thought you would fit nicely into the place they had planned. However, the actuality of your presence was overpowering, well beyond their limited comprehension. Control was never an option for your essence from the beginning. They can perceive the truth. They were unwilling to accept. They were never intended to stand by you. The loss they experience is due to their awareness that they were never capable of matching your expectations, not because you failed to meet them. The world perpetuates the myth that compatibility can be engineered, that statistics and characteristics can predict connection. However, it fails to account for what cannot be quantified. The energy that reshapes surroundings, the presence that elevates ordinary existence to transformation. These are not things that can be calculated. They refused to see it. They didn't seek you. They wanted their own version of you, one that fits inside their framework, one they could comprehend and mold to their desire. They weren't prepared for anything wild, something that couldn't be sculpted to suit their mold. They thought that effort might compel alignment, that resolve might defy fate. But truth does not yield to willpower. You were not a missing piece in their imperfect jigsaw. You were a whole other reality, a presence that far beyond their expectations from the beginning. The opposition was evident. Despite their best efforts, they were unable to make the link. Everything seemed odd. Words never quite landed. Intentions are seldom completely related. It wasn't an issue of difficulty or lack of effort. The basic imbalance could not be overcome via perseverance or wishful thinking. Your energy belonged to a different wavelength than what they could detect. It was not a question of labor, but of design. No amount of cunning, patience, or strategic tactics could sway destiny in their favor. You weren't just a person they met. You were an uncontrollable natural force. Some can be examined, classified, and explained, but you cannot. When the specialists entered your field, everything changed. Their predetermined techniques failed. Their systematic method fell beneath the weight of something they couldn't identify. What was before them was beyond conventional understanding, unconstrained by familiar reasoning. For the first time, they paused. This was not about attraction, hobbies, or even common experiences. It was about strength and unmistakable force ingrained into the very fabric of your existence. Some consequences cannot be justified, and they are what characterize logic. Truths that dispel the illusion of certainty. They may not have had the words to express what they saw, but they felt it deeply inside, the unmistakable weight of something beyond their grasp. When they were charged with assessing alignment, they anticipated a straightforward response, an equation that balances. Instead, they were confronted with something immeasurable. Something destroyed their expectations. There are those who go through life undetected, fading into the background. Then there are people whose mere existence reshapes the environment they occupy, leaving a strong mark that cannot be ignored. If you are experiencing an excess of divine love in your heart, now is the moment to share it. You may help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and donating $20 or more. This wonderful gift will affect not just your life, but the souls of countless others via this platform. Each of you has a special role in God's big plan, and your giving will be the result of our prayers. Act now. Share your benefits to honor His kingdom. You are meant to do much bigger things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. The revelation hit them right away. No measurement could describe what they saw. No categorization could capture the enormity of what they faced. The conclusion was unavoidable. This wasn't someone to examine, compare, or categorize. This person deserved to be honored. When the judgment came, it hit with the power of an irrevocable decision, unreachable, untouchable, and beyond their reach. For those who had envisioned possession, it was more than simply a locked door. It was an impassable barrier. The effort to claim what was never theirs had ended in a final, unequivocal rejection, not by a person, but by forces far beyond their understanding. They felt they were prepared, that they had the necessary confidence, energy, and sense of gravity. It fascinated them. They wanted to enter that realm and become a part of something spectacular. But adoration is not synonymous with ready. What they sought and what they could hold were not the same thing. They confused curiosity for preparation and attractiveness for suitability. Standing in the presence of something strong does not give you the strength to face it. They convinced themselves they could keep up, that they could rise to the challenge. However, the reality was considerably less forgiving. There are forces that don't just coexist. They change. They expose. They demand. Evolution. This is when the stress started. The presence they previously desired began to show their limits, forcing them to confront pieces of themselves they would rather forget. They want closeness to power. However, they were concerned about the expense. They wanted to stay unaltered, take without giving, to absorb without changing. But power doesn't function that way. It demands expansion, and growth is unpleasant. The first traces of tension emerged in the tiniest of times. Hearing the unadulterated truth might be uncomfortable. The reluctance to confront an unwavering belief. The weight of being next to something undiluted. What they said they could manage was never intended to be controlled, and they were never ready to stand alongside it. The imbalance has always been there. The last revelation was not a finding, but rather an unveiling. The truth has been waiting for the right opportunity to emerge. It could no longer be ignored. They knew, even before the conclusion was voiced, that they were never intended to be in this location. Some ties are based on illusion rather than true congruence. Some people are lured not by love, but by the prospect of gaining something for themselves. Those who want to connect with something bigger rather than to create. In an effort to claim it, the most dangerous of them fail to understand their own aims. There are forces that use deceit to convey diversions in the shape of adulation, resulting in tests disguised as profound friendships. Some come not to elevate, but to siphon, not to walk alongside, but to slow down. Their presence may seem welcoming at first, but it soon becomes evident that they are not here to uplift. They're here to devour. The attraction they feel is not for the person, but for the power inside them, the energy they exude, and the authority they do not comprehend but yearn to have. They tell themselves that it is fate, but deep down, they know the truth. It's not love. It is about control. Tension emerges when such control is withheld, when confronted with self-sufficiency, when faced with unshakable certainty, when attempting to steer the path is met with resistance. This is when the cracks reveal that they do not like what cannot be bent to their satisfaction. They don't appreciate what doesn't produce. So they vary, giving and withdrawing, presenting adulation only to replace it with uncertainty, ensuring that the scale is constantly tipped in their favor. This is not a relationship. This is a struggle they have no idea they are waging. The cycle is as ancient as time, a pattern that flourishes in an unstable environment, keeping the powerful from overestimating their own strength. They push and pull, reassure and undermine, praise and condemn in equal parts, constantly altering the ground under their target's feet. However, there are individuals that cannot be fooled and see the techniques for what they are, who refuse to participate in the game. And that's where the universe comes in. Some endings serve as redirections rather than rejections. What seems to be separation is frequently really protection. Not all losses are supposed to be grieved. Some of the doors were always designed to be closed. Sometimes hidden forces intrude, changing the path of events in ways that the intellect made difficult to understand. What looked to be an ending was really a precaution, an invisible hand. Ensure that what was never intended to tie you is left behind. The barriers that arose were protective shields rather than rejection walls, keeping you from walking into a trap masquerading as security. What seemed like a loss was really a redirection. A force stronger than reasoning severed links that would have just kept you in the wrong location. It wasn't abandonment. It represented deliverance. What was lost from them was not just a presence, but access to something beyond their comprehension. The weight of awareness landed on them like an unsaid fact that could not be argued away. For a little time, they imagined their desires would be realized, that destiny would turn in their favor. But what happened instead was a final, irrevocable decision. This was never theirs to keep. They had been denied not only by human decision, but by something much beyond their control. The absence they now sense is not of a person, but of a power they were never strong enough to stand up against. They went to rationalization, looking for reasons that would satisfy their pride. Perhaps it was an error of judgment. Perhaps another try might change the outcome. But the fact remained undeniable. Some losses are just transitory and may be made up for with time and attention. Others create spaces that cannot be filled, absences that resonate in the quiet. This was not a temporary parting. It was a decisive separation. In the aftermath, pandemonium ensued. The weight of what had slid between their fingers became overwhelming. Regret became a focus in their minds, revolving endlessly around possibilities that could never be recovered. The door had not merely closed. It had gone, and no amount of desperate measures could bring it back. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace come upon you today. I'm here to remind you of a fundamental fact. Existence is based on God's divine purpose and is unaffected by worldly worries. According to the Bible, everything is done with faith will be returned to God with great blessing. Luke 638. Like the enormous oak tree, our roots are profoundly embedded in God's global truth. His power secures every stride and every stance we take. And now you have the chance to be a part of that gift. When you click this super thank you button and contribute $100, this action will bring you 100-fold and plenty. Some people may not realize value until it is beyond their reach. However, individuals who act with purpose do not wait for gradual realizations to catch up. The rise proceeds unabated, while those who remain behind are obsessed by recollections of what they can no longer achieve. What bothers them is not just what they have lost, but also the sense that they never had a chance. There will come a point when they return, disguised in the jargon of transformation. Their words will be refined. Their pledges had been practiced beforehand. They will talk on change, lessons learned, and greater clarity. A change is not stated. It's demonstrated. When the time comes, when their presence reappears, the truth will be revealed. They stay untouched. They have the same cycles, worries, and a need to hang on to what they cannot match. They are not looking for the relationship itself, but for how it made them feel. Validated, invigorated, powerful. But yearning is not love. Love grows. Love endures. When assessed by that standard, they will fall short, as they always do. What is left behind is not intended to be retrieved. Some pathways are blocked due to knowledge rather than fury. Returning to what has been outgrown does not constitute a reunion. It is a regressive process. And those that move with purpose understand that the past is a place to learn from, not relive. Those who move ahead do not ask for accolades. Do not dwell on explanations. Do not seek approval for their route while others focus on what has been lost. They walk forward without reluctance. This is the power of movement, the strength of departure. Many people cling to familiarity, even when it suffocates them and confines them to patterns that keep them tiny. However, People who comprehend purpose recognize that not everything is intended to last. Some ties serve as lessons rather than bonds. And after the lesson has been learnt, the chapter concludes. There is no hesitancy, no second thoughts. A tree that outgrows its soil will not shrink to fit the container. It bursts through, extending toward the sky, looking for fresh ground where its roots may grow freely. That is the character of people destined for greater things. You can't remain where you're planted forever. You no longer fit into the locations where you used to be, not because you decided to go, but because you were never supposed to stay. And, although others observed from a distance, hoping to find a way back into your presence, they overlooked one basic reality. The season has changed. The door that was once open has not only closed, it has been completely deleted. Those who dwell in the past, rehearsing what could have been, believing that chances will come back, do not grasp the concept of divine timing. They had their moment. They had access. But time is not kind to those who delay. While they were frozen in doubt, expecting that life would slow down and wait for them to be ready, the route moved on without them. Now they are reaching for something that no longer exists, grasping for a version of yourself that has already risen beyond their grasp. This isn't about resentment. It is not intended to penalize people who failed to perceive what was in front of them. It's just the rule of progress. You don't go back down once you've risen. There is one spiritual concept that cannot be overlooked. Some bridges are destroyed not by human hands, but by forces larger than ourselves. You were supposed to leave some locations and relationships. You were supposed to outgrow attachments that were never intended to stay longer than a certain point. And once that threshold is reached, fate intervenes. There is no turning back. Those who wish they had valued what they had, those who now see the significance of what they lost, must bear the weight of that awareness. They were not eliminated on accident. It was hardly a coincidence that they fell behind. They believed there was always time. There's always another opening. There is always another chance to return. However, divine action does not appeal to the apprehensive. There is a cost to indecision, a price to pay for failing to appreciate a moment of grace while it was still available. And the price is finality. Those who are left behind do not face punishment. They're being taught. They are displayed in just one manner. They will realize that what we take for granted does not wait. And when they finally comprehend, when they finally feel the full weight of what has been lost, they will wish they could go back in time. But the truth will be as immovable as a mountain. The chapter has finished. They may try to return, wrapping their comments in fresh promises and promising you that they have changed, that they now see clearly. But time is the ultimate revealer. And if you look carefully, you'll see the same patterns, concerns, and unwillingness to ascend. Growth is not determined by what is uttered. It is about what is experienced. And those who have actually converted will never have to persuade you. They'll just meet you where you are. Those who still hope to be allowed back in, who feel they are due access, and who believe that their remorse is sufficient to turn back the hands of time, do not grasp the nature of ascension. A bird intended to flight cannot remain in the nest indefinitely. The wind will eventually proclaim its name. When the sky spreads wide, being grounded is no longer an option. Those who were never intended to soar with it will watch from below, wondering why they were left behind and why they were not invited along on the ride. But flying demands strength, and not all wings are designed to withstand altitude. Some were merely supposed to share the early days, providing shelter and serving a role for a season. However, not every presence is intended to be lasting. And when the time comes for leaving, there will be no apology, explanation, or second-guessing. There's just movement. The fact is that those who did not ascend when given the opportunity will be left with nothing except memories. They will sit with the weight of regret, revisiting the times when they might have moved on but instead remained still. They'll persuade themselves that another chance will arise. That time will provide them with another opportunity. However, time moves quickly, and the once open door is gone. You do not turn back for those who refuse to go. You don't reduce your height for folks who are terrified to fly. Growth necessitates release, and separation is not harsh. It is a must. Those who were destined to stick with you would have found a way to climb. They would have recognized the call, sensed the change, and moved on without hesitation. Those who elected to stay where they were, they made their choice, even if they weren't aware of it at the time. The trip continues. The sky stays open. Those who are courageous enough to continue ahead will find themselves among others who have the same passion, strength, and vision. Those left behind will only have themselves to deal with. The lesson was theirs to learn. The decision was always theirs to make. And now all they can do is watch you fade beyond the horizon, stepping into a place they were never prepared to be. This is the distinction. People who have climbed don't wait. They don't explain themselves. They do not turn back and grasp for something that has already been withdrawn. They walk with assurance, clarity, and the knowledge that whatever is destined to accompany them will go, and what was supposed to be left behind will remain. No amount of hoping, begging, or perfectly prepared words can reverse what has already been put in motion. It is neither harsh, nor is it arrogant. It is a divine arrangement, and once you comprehend this, and truly embrace the nature of your own journey, you will no longer look back. You will quit engaging in past chats. Stop evaluating doors that have been closed for a reason. Stop providing room to those who gave up their access long ago. You will walk with the peaceful assurance of someone who understands deep down that they were never intended to fit into tiny spaces, that they were never meant to be held by people who lacked the power to hold them, and that they were never meant to stop their trip. For those who were hesitant to go at their own speed, the path ahead is plain. The past is over, and those who were never intended to remain will be left right where they belong, behind. There is a reason why those that ascend stay ahead. They refuse to be trapped in meaningless cycles. They understand the importance of their presence and do not give it to others who take it for granted. And when they depart, it's final. The echoes of sorrow may follow. The yearning may endure, but the answer remains unchanged. What was formerly freely offered is now out of reach. Some individuals were never intended to be permanent characters in your tale. They were only guests, getting a fleeting peek of something spectacular. However, witnessing is not the same as belonging, and those who were never strong enough to survive will spend the rest of their lives looking for something they will never have again. That is why the past is still the past. That is why doors, once closed, should never be reopened. The right ones will not hesitate, never need evidence, never seek affirmation from sources outside of their own knowledge. When they come, they will stand as equals rather than seekers. Until then, the voyage continues, unburdened by what was never intended to stay. It's time to spread God's blessings by pressing the Super Thanks button on YouTube. With a $100 gift or more, you may help him carry out his plan and become a part of this holy mission. Every contribution symbolizes God's generosity, and I think it will return to you enormously, far above your expectations. Remember that his protection and blessing are with you every step and every contribution. You become a part of his divine plan. You are a powerful, dazzling entity, as steadfast as his huge rock. Witness God's marvels. Feel the rewards of your kindness in your spirit, and light up the world with confidence and bravery. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord lead you. Certain pathways cannot be changed. Destinies that refuse to be compromised. No external influence, opinion, or effort at validation can alter what has already been established. Those who are destined to stand alongside greatness will do so without hesitation, uncertainty, or seeking permission. They will not strive to confine what is intended to grow, nor will they try to change something that is already complete. The correct ones will come with assurance, not questions. They will approach without the desire to reduce, but with the determination to walk as equals. And those who hesitate, seek control, and demand confirmation that they were never supposed to be there in the first place. This is a confirmation. Nothing intended for you will ever need pursuit. What is aligned will make its way. What is intended will never need compromise. Those who failed to match your presence will discover too late that the loss was never yours to bear. It was theirs to bear, not because they were unworthy, but because they lacked the willpower to cling on to what they had previously achieved. That weight belonged to them, not you. There is no place for limitation or dilution of existence. So this level cannot be explored, investigated, or limited by expectations. It is a force unaffected by doubt or hesitation, and those who are unable to rise to meet it will waste their lives chasing a shadow, looking for something that cannot be recreated. Allow them to deal with the echoes of what was lost. Allow them to dwell in unresolved questions. Let them try to rebuild what can never be recovered. That is their weight to bear. The only way ahead is elevation, which is constant, unyielding, and unmistakable. What leaves behind is no longer relevant. The past is a fading landscape. What lies ahead is the only way. And once the step is made, no argument, logic, passion, or force can justify going back.